Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Simone here, and today I'm going to be filming the third part in my Booktubers favourite book series, where I talk about some of my favourite booktubers and their favourite books. So as per the other two videos that I've done, which I'll link the playlist down below, I have 5 booktubers to talk about in this video. Most of them in this video I think are smaller booktubers, which I really enjoy, and I love to be able to share and give you some more recommendations for people that I really love watching. So the first YouTuber that I have to mention is Chanelle Time, and I absolutely love this channel. Chanelle did a great video about racism on BookTube, which I will link below for you and probably in the cards as well. But definitely go and check it out because she's so incredible, honestly. There's something about the way that she spoke about it that was very poignant, and it meant something, and she's a black booktuber, so I feel like it really she had a lot to say, and I felt like it really, I just completely was with her on it, and she wasn't rude and she wasn't kind of defensive in any way, but she just really said her point, and I don't know how anybody could watch that video and not completely agree with her because, like I said, she just was very eloquent and I loved it. So Chanelle had 2 different books that she wanted to mention, and the first one of those is Autobiography by Christina Lauren. I don't actually know much about this book. I think it's LGBT in the basis of it, but other than that I'm not really sure, so I'm just going to have a quick look about it. I believe this is about a boy named Tanner Scott who is with his family relocates from California to Utah, and in California he was out as bisexual and everybody knew, but when he goes to Utah he kind of goes back to having not told anybody, so he just keeps it to himself. Anyway, his best friend Autumn dares him to enter this competition, I think, where you have to write a book in 4 months, and he thinks it's ridiculous, but he goes along with it because he wants to prove to her that it's really a thing. And I think it's that. I'm not entirely sure what happens. I have no idea anything else. I know I've heard it's really great representation for bisexuality, and I feel like I haven't really read any books about, I read some books about lesbian characters and also about gay characters, but very rarely do I read bisexual characters, and if I do, it's never explicitly a thing, if that makes sense. Like it's quite kind of hushed up and it's just maybe mentioned a few times. But yeah, so I thought this would be a really good book. I'm going to add it to my TBR actually, so thank you so much to Chanelle for that recommendation. And the other one that she mentioned as her favourite was The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. And I don't really know anything about this other than it is classed as a kind of classic, I guess. It's a YA story, I believe. And I'm not entirely sure what it's about. I think it's about a boy who ends up accidentally killing his friend, and then it's about that. Now, I could be completely wrong. I honestly don't know. I've heard sort of a few basic synopses. So yeah, I don't know too much else, but yeah, let me know if you think I should definitely get to this one, because I've heard lots of things about this book but still have not read it. The second person that I want to talk about is, as far as I know, does not have a booktube channel but does have a book blog, which I will link below. I think it's really interesting to read book blogs. I don't do it as much as I should. I do tend to just mainly focus on booktube videos, but I really enjoyed this blog this month actually, to be honest. And it is Stephanie from Beauty and the Bookish blog, and she actually did 31 days of Vlogmas towards the end of in December, obviously. So I would definitely recommend that you go and check that out because I really enjoyed just Stephanie's writing in general. Also, she read 200 books last year, and I think is planning on doing the same again. And I was reading, she did one of the last, I think it might even be the last blog that she did in December, where she talked about how she managed to read that many books, and how people say to her, how can you manage to read this? And I get the same thing in my work life. I read 125 books last year, and a lot of people at my work are like, how do you manage to find the time to read so much? And in the same way that Stephanie said, I make time. It's my hobby, so I prefer to do that. But I can completely understand where this comes from, and I find it really fascinating to read. So I'll also link that blog post down below so you can go and check it out, but I'll generally link her blog. I really enjoyed Stephanie. I think you should all go and check her out. If you don't really read book blogs, I would highly recommend that you check out hers anyway, because she's just that great. And Stephanie has 3 books to mention for her favourites. The first one is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, which is also one of my favourites. I love Jane Austen in general. I actually sort of prefer Emma, but Pride and Prejudice is such a classic, and it is a beautiful story, and I love Mr. Darcy. What's not to love? So yeah, definitely a great one for your favourites. The second one she mentioned is Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which you may know I actually reread in December because I previously read it the year before and hated it, but I gave it a 4-star this way around. I really love this. It's about a circus that appears out of nowhere without warning, and it's about the people that are in the circus, and it's very, very interesting, very fascinating, and a great read. Very, very beautiful writing as well. I think that's possibly what threw me off the first time I tried to read it. So yeah, definitely another one I would recommend, but most people have already heard of The Night Circus. And then the final one that she mentioned was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now I have to agree, I much prefer, controversially, The Hobbit to the Lord of the Rings series, because I think The Hobbit was meant to be a kind of for a younger audience. I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but that's definitely how I read it. And I don't know if just because maybe it was for a slightly younger audience, I understood it more and I could really get into it. I think The Lord of the Rings is much more difficult language and just very kind of like over descriptive maybe in parts. So yeah, for me, I love The Hobbit. The Hobbit, if you don't know, I assume most people know what The Hobbit is, but it is about Bilbo Baggins, who goes on a kind of journey, shall we say, or an adventure with a large group of dwarves who are trying to get back their home from Smaug the dragon, who was stolen into their home and has tried to steal their gold. So yeah, it's about that. It's really, really good, honestly. And I think if you don't really love to read fantasy, I still think The Hobbit would be a good choice. I probably wouldn't read The Lord of the Rings if fantasy is not your thing, but I think The Hobbit could still be that like crossover, because I think it was really, really, really good. How many times could I say really in that sentence? Also guys, I'm really sorry if I sound a bit stuffy or snuffly in this video. I had a cold in December. Like, how is this happening to me again? I feel like I'm getting another one, and it's really frustrating. So the next booktuber that I want to talk about is Blue Sapphire Reads, and I love this channel. She's very kind of like laid back and quite casual, and I love that. I just think that's really what I need sometimes when I watch videos. Like, I just want someone who just wants to like enjoy themselves, and it is enjoying it. So I think that this channel is definitely for you if that's the kind of relaxing vibe that you want. And I definitely think that she deserves so many more subscribers. One of the great things about this channel is that she does a kind of monthly booktuber shout out, which she calls Spotlight Booktuber, and she talks about one booktuber that she is recommending, I guess, and kind of what she thinks. And she's done some of my favourites. She's done Hayley Marie, who I adore. She's done Anna Francesca, who we all know that I really love. I've mentioned her before. And she's a relatively newer booktuber, so definitely go over and show her some love, because I think she's incredible, and yeah, I think you should all go and watch her videos. And her favourite book that she mentioned was The Birth House by Amy McKay, which, if I'm totally honest, I'd never heard of before. And according to Goodreads, it is a historical fiction set in Nova Scotia in Canada, and it is about a midwife's struggles, and now I'm intrigued. Like, I feel like I need to read this. It sounds amazing. I love books about midwives and midwifery in general. One of my best friends is training to be a midwife, and I think she's amazing. I don't know how they do it. I think it's just so wonderful and full on. So yeah, I 100% am going to read this book. I've decided. I'm adding it to my TBR right now. So the next one I have is Blair from the Blair Book Project, and Blair is a wonderful booktuber. I adore her videos, and she was part of the BookTube Secret Santa that Anna Francesca ran, which I'll link the video that I did and also Blair's Book Secret Santa video, because that was really good as well. I just really love her. I love her on Twitter. I follow her on Twitter, and she always says hilarious things, and I love to just read her Twitter page, which might sound a bit weird, but yeah. She's a booktuber that doesn't have anywhere near as many subscribers as she deserves, so 100% go over there and check her out and show her some love. And the book that she mentioned is another one that I'd not heard of, that I believe is a historical fiction novel, and it's called The Air You Breathe by Francis de Pontes Peebles. But this one says, I'm going to read it off my computer screen, the story of an intense female friendship fueled by affection, envy and pride, and each woman's fear that she would be nothing without the other. Skinny 9-year-old orphaned Doris is working in the kitchen of a sugar plantation in 1930s Brazil when in walks a girl who changes everything. Graça? The spoiled daughter of a wealthy sugar baron is clever, well-fed, pretty and thrillingly ill-behaved. Born to wildly different worlds, Doris and Gracer quickly bond over shared mischief and then on a deeper level over music. One has a voice like a songbird, the other feels melodies in her soul and composes lyrics to match. Music will become their shared passion, the source of their partnership and their rivalry. And for each, the only way out of the life to which each was born. But only one of the two is destined to be a star. Their intimate, volatile bond will determine each of their fortunes and haunt their memories. That sounds great. I mean, it's a historical fiction book, which I do tend to love. It's set in Brazil, which I'm really interested to read about, and it's about female friendship. I feel like this sounds great. I'm definitely adding that to my TBR. It sounds like a great book. And then the final one that I want to talk about is Ghost Reader, and this is a male booktuber, and I feel like I need more of them to watch. I will say he is incredible. I have really enjoyed watching his videos recently. He's done some amazing ones, and I love watching his tag videos. I think he did like 4 tag videos over the end of the year, because I think he'd been tagged in a load, and I just found them really interesting. I love that he doesn't talk about the same book in every tag, and I feel like he really thinks about his answers before he kind of comes up with them. I really love his channel in general, and yeah, I would 100% recommend you go over and check out Ghost Reader. And this one is actually a non-fiction book that he's recommended as his favourite book, and that is Endurance by Alfred Lansing, and this sounds really interesting and I've never heard about it before. So it follows the British ship Endurance, which set sail for the South Atlantic in August of 1914, which is that just before the Titanic? I'm not entirely sure. Still half a continent away from its intended base, the ship was trapped, then crushed in the ice. For 5 months, Sir Ernest Shackleton and his men, drifting on ice packs, were castaways in one of the most savage regions of the world. But they survived it, I believe. And they survived a 1,000-mile voyage in an open boat across the stormiest ocean and an overland trek through forbidding glaciers and mountains. That sounds incredibly difficult, and I feel like this is going to be a great book. I really enjoyed the, what was it called, Into Thin Air, or In Thin Air, by John Krakauer this year, which was kind of one of those like harrowing, real life extraordinary feats of kind of endurance and bravery, and I feel like that is going to be very similar to this. I am really wanting to read this now, so thank you so much to Ghost Reader, because I feel like this is opening up so many different book options for me. So there you have it, guys. They are the 5 booktubers that I'm recommending today and their favourite books. I hope that you liked this video and you found some booktubers that you might want to go and check out. I honestly recommend that you do, because they're all absolutely amazing. I'm loving finding books that I've not heard of before, and I love to share the love with booktubers, because people did the same thing for me, and now I'm on 370 subscribers, which is just amazing. So thank you so much. I hope that you're liking this series still, guys. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I will see you on Friday for another video. Bye, guys.